outside of the row, and if that's not possible, please make sure that they are held or easily within your reach. Also, we ask that you do not stand up and move around while the train is in motion, keeping your hands and head and feet into the cars at all times. Eating and drinking is not permitted, but water from an enclosed water bottle is just fine. We are going on a tour of the Greenfield Village. The ride lasts approximately 30 minutes with a stopover at Smith's Creek. Thank you.
Good thing Mom's not here, huh? That smoke will cause you to break out in a rash.
We'll wait the bonfire station masters and staff that are helping to keep you come on board safely, and your train is in good condition. Thank you. Divided into 7 different districts, and the very first one we come upon is Henry Ford Model T. If you look over to your left, you'll see the home that he was born in on July 30th, 1863, on the second floor. Henry Ford did not take to farming, so at the age of 16 he left and he went over to Detroit to work with machines. After you visit his home, take a walk over to the Ford Motor Company, where you learn how he came up with that wonderful invention that changed the life of motor cars forever, the Model T, back in 1908. Take a peek under the hood of a Model T. We have some workers demonstrating them right outside of the Ford Motor Company. And there are some presenters there at the Ford home. Please do stop in and visit and learn more about his early life.
Wait for the lady over there. Rebecca, wait a minute. Yeah.
Now we come into the Main Street district, and this is more of a commercial district. You can visit the home of the Wright brothers and the Wright brothers cycle shop, Mrs. Cohen's millinery, and also the Heinz factory. Down the street is the Herschel Spillman Carousel, built in 1913. I hope you make it a plan to take a ride on one of the many menagerie of animals on that carousel.
You'll see it. There's a Model T out there that will drive.
We are now entering into Edison at Works district, and that gray building in front of us happens to be his laboratory. Up on the second floor, he came up with many inventions: the incandescent light bulb, the phonograph, improving on the telegraph. The unmarried workers that were part of his lab crew would rent a home over at Sarah Jordan's boarding home. That is that yellow home just up ahead. And in 1879, it was one of the very first homes in the entire world fitted for electrical power. That's a must-see on your tour today as you come into this area. Do stop in and take a look at the wiring inside the home. Next to that, when Thomas Edison was wintering in Florida, he had his own Fort Myers laboratory. It was fully equipped just so that he could continue on with his inventions. Ordinary Americans, and learn how they have lived during that time. You'll go through over 300 years of history right in this spot. You'll visit the home of Noah Webster. He's the person who came up with that American Dictionary of the English language in 1828. Just up ahead is the Susquehanna Plantation, built in 1850s in Tidewater, Maryland. Back in the day, it was 900 acres big, and tobacco was its cash crop. Slaves were the ones that worked this plantation. Visit the home and see how the people lived and learn more about the hardships that the slaves endured on this plantation. And then next to that is the Plimpton family home. That happens to be the oldest American home here at Greenfield Village, built in the early 1700s. It's a one-room family home, and Mr. and Mrs. Plimpton raised 7 children in that house. Next to that is the Ferris Windmill. That was built in 1650 from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It happens to be the oldest standing windmill in the United States. And lastly on our tour in this area is the Daggett family farmhouse, built in 1754. I see Mrs. Daggett's out working on her raised gardens. They're planting mostly rooted vegetables. Do visit and learn more about gardening tips. Inspired by Henry Ford's love for the railroad, the staff over at the Henry Ford Museum decided that they would build a perimeter railway here at Greenfield Village. It's approximately 3 miles around, and they used a standard gauge rail. We have 3 steam locomotives that pull our trains for the guests during the season. The one that's pulling our locomotive that's pulling our train today is the Edison. It was built sometime in the early 1870s, but it had undergone complete refurbishment when Henry Ford purchased it in 1932. It was completed, and he named it Edison after his dear friend Thomas Edison. We also have the Baldwin number 7, built in 1897, and the Torch Lake, built in 1873. Stop over to the roundhouse and take a peek through the doors and take a look at all of our locomotives. We are now entering into our wildlife preserve. It's about 11 acres big. Just sit back and kind of enjoy the sounds that our steam locomotive makes as we move through here, and see if you can spot any wildlife, maybe a white-tailed deer, a coyote. We have been seeing turkeys throughout this area. The date was October 21st, 1929, when Henry Ford opened the Henry Ford Museum. The dedication ceremony was called Light's Golden Jubilee. No hint of a museum opening, but he called it such because he wanted to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Thomas Edison's invention of the incandescent light bulb. He had him go over to the Menlo Park laboratory here, and he had him recreate the lighting of that light bulb. The visitors who came to the museum for the event were seated by candlelight. And after Thomas Edison flipped the switch for the incandescent light bulb, all the lights were aglow over at Menlo Park Complex, and all the lights on the museum were aglow. What a fun event that was for all. We are only 8 years away from celebrating a 100-year anniversary of that very day. We are now entering into the Walnut Grove area during the summertime, and very soon this place will be hopping with a lot of activities that were silenced last year due to COVID. Beginning with June 12th, we're returning historic baseball. Our players, the La-Di-Das and the Nationals, will play against other Midwestern teams right here on this very field. They play according to the rule book from 1867. So if you're a baseball fan, you do not want to miss coming out and cheering for our home teams. Coming on June 19th and 20th will be Motor Muster, one that we've really missed sorely last year. Reservations are being taken. Do take a look at thehenryford.org to find out more about that. And we are also going to have Oat Car Festival, September 11th and 12th, return here. And there'll be more festivities here at the Greenfield Village. For those of you that love to come here, we have a summer packed with a lot of events.
Oh, that's right. Old Car Festival.
If you look up the hill over to the left, you'll see the backside of Porches and Parlors. Cotswold Cottage is one structure that did not come from America. It was from Tedworth, England. It happens to be built in 1619. Henry Ford bought it for his wife, and then he had it built, brought over here by ship, brick by brick. The people who disassembled it were brought along with it, and they assembled it. If you love gardens, you do not want to miss the summer gardens at Cotwell Cottage. Then we have the Giddings family home, which was built in the 1700s. And then we have the backside of Noah Webster's home from New Haven, Connecticut, built in the early 1800s. In front of us is the Henry Ford Academy High School, built in 1997. It specializes in the STEAM program: science, technology, engineering, art, and math. The students have just recently returned after being learning remotely. They are now coming back to the classroom. 10th through 12th graders have classes in these rooms. 9th graders have classes over at the museum. Henry Ford believed that learning to do is by doing. The students are able to go into the museum and into the village to learn firsthand what they studied in the classroom, something that most classrooms or high school students do not get a chance to do. In these vintage railroad cars just up ahead, they're reserved for the 12th graders, the privileged seniors. To be a student here at the Henry Ford Academy High School, one must live in Wayne County, Michigan. Then it's the luck of the draw that your application is pulled, where you can attend high school here tuition-free. And just up the hill, you'll see the backside of Main Street. That's the Martha Mary Chapel that Henry Ford had built in honor of his mother-in-law, Martha Bryant, and his mother, Mary Ford. Since 1935, many wedding ceremonies were performed here. Next to that is the Scotch Settlement Elementary School, where young Henry Ford attended, a one-room schoolhouse. It was here when the Henry Ford Museum was honored. Next to that is the Logan County Courthouse, built in Pottsville, Illinois in 1870, and young Abraham Lincoln practiced law. 1840, excuse me. In front of us is the Taste of History restaurant. You can enjoy snacks and beverages up until 11 o'clock, and after 11 o'clock they will be serving hot meals, and some of the recipes come from our historic homes. They stop serving hot meals at 3 o'clock, and after that it'll be back to snacks and beverages only. Next to that is the Eagle Tavern restaurant. They just opened May 20th for service again. When you step through the doors, you're going to step through 1850. If you enjoy having a historic dining experience, I highly recommend coming into that Eagle Tavern restaurant for a meal. We are now coming into Smiths Creek Station. Please remain seated. The engineer will set a brake and give us the sound of a single whistle, letting us know that it is safe to come off the train. You'll be exiting off to your left side at the station. If you are getting off, I encourage you to take a ride on the Herschel Spillman Carousel. What a fun way to start your morning. We'll say hello to Sue and Ginger, to Lou and Ginger, our station masters. They're going to help in the deboarding process. It is now safe to come off the train. Make sure